Hey, Undisputed listeners. Before we start the show, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com. Reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, are just one click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. Download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com now. Let's start the show. Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. We've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it. Good morning. Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. Good morning, guys. How we doing?
I don't know if we anticipated that last night.
I don't know about you, but I barely slept. And then when I did wake up, my first thought was, did I dream that or did that really happen? And I think it really happened.
That really happened.
That really happened. Here we go.
There are good games and then there are great games. And that is what we saw last night. The Ravens topped the Browns 47-42 in a truly wild finish last night. Cleveland was down 14 points in the fourth quarter, but steamrolled back to take a 1-point lead. Meanwhile, Lamar Jackson had to leave the game with cramps for almost 2 whole drives, but from backup, Trace McSorley went down. Lamar came back out of the locker room to throw the go-ahead touchdown on a 4th and 5 conversion right after the 2-minute warning. Baker Mayfield would then tie the game with a minute to go. Justin Tucker kicked a 55-yard field goal with just 2 seconds remaining to give the Ravens the lead for good. It was wild. It had everything. It had the drama. Shannon, was this the game of the year?
Skip, I don't know about the game of the year, but it was the greatest fourth quarter and the greatest 5-6 minutes of a ball game that I've seen in a very, very long time. And given what Lamar Jackson did, so Skip, if you want to say because of what Lamar did, being in the locker room for those final almost 2 drives and coming back cold, Skip, he didn't come back at the start of the drive. He came back on 4th and 5.
4th and 5.
So if you want to say, Skip, so
no,
okay,
impossible.
with that being the storyline, yes, it was the game of the year. Considering what Lamar Jackson did going into the locker room, and if you want to say he had a Paul Pierce or a Willis Reed moment, whatever you want to say, given the
I'll go Willis Reed because Paul Pierce was a little phony to me. The wheelchair moment, yes. Let's not do that.
Given what he had to do in that moment, Skip, it was unbelievable. 35 points in the fourth quarter alone. And whatever Lamar was doing, Baker's like, nah, I'm not going to be outdone tonight. And Baker just kept coming back and coming back and coming back. And you look at, and Cleveland's got to be thinking to themselves, Skip, hold on, bro. We just put 500 yards. We scored 42 points. Baker threw for almost 400 yards. And we still lost. Yeah, because the heroics of Lamar Jackson. Skip, neither defense could stop the other, the opposing team's offense. And I'm surprised at the way Cleveland's defense approached Lamar Jackson. Skip, they just kept letting him get out of contain. And it was the exact same thing, Skip. I think it was a Sunday night about 2 weeks ago. We saw the Oakland Raiders blitz. They let Mahomes get to the right side. And the one thing you don't want to have happen is let a quarterback get to his dominant arm.
Yep.
He's a right-handed quarterback, so if you blitz him, make him go left, you don't let him get outside because now you're at his mercy. Mahomes did the same thing. He got outside, he bought time, found Travis Kelce for a touchdown. And what did? They blitz up the middle. They let Lamar get to his dominant hand. He gets outside. He finds Hollywood Brown, who had just dropped a pass earlier on 3rd down. Skip, unknown what might have been the play of this game that's not being talked about was the 3rd down completion to Willie Snead by Trace McSorley.
It was big.
Because it gave Lamar Jackson, because I'm not sure John Harbaugh's going to go for it.
Good point.
I don't think he's going to go for it in that situation, Skip. I think he's going to punt it and probably have to trust his defense. But that gave Lamar an opportunity to come back into the ball game, Skip, the back and forth. Cleveland had 19 more plays. They possessed the ball 3 more minutes of time of possession. But Lamar Jackson was getting touchdowns and going 75 yards running the football. Skip, this is unheard of.
Yeah.
And again, another 200-plus yard day running the football with Lamar Jackson. Skip, if you don't take his legs away, it's hard for them to beat. It's hard for you to beat the Ravens if they don't turn it over. But Skip, if Lamar Jackson could ever get his arm, I'm not saying 85, 90%. If he could just get his arm to 65, 70% of his legs, he's going to be in the MVP conversation every single year. And he can do it because I think we're going to talk about Josh Allen, Skip. Josh Allen completion percentage is 16 points higher than what it was his rookie season. It's 10 points higher than what it was last year. So this is something Lamar can, now he's going to have to prove his mechanic because he missed 2 throws, Skip. You can't miss those throws. You got to have them. But last night, Lamar Jackson showed you something. Baker showed you something. But it was just Lamar's time to just upstage Baker in a big moment.
All great points by you. I don't even know where to start. This was fairy tale. It was storybook. It was better than fiction. I thought at the end of the game of one of my all-time favorite writers, whose poem is the reason the Ravens are called the Ravens. And he's a Baltimore native, or he was, named Edgar Allan Poe.
Yep.
And he wrote a poem called The Raven.
And the Ravens' name, his name is Poe.
That is correct. And he was known for incredibly creative writing, most of it in the areas of gloom and doom. And death and destruction, macabre. But if he had written this plot and tried to sell it to Hollywood, they'd say, no, it's too unbelievable. Stop it. No. And yet it happened. And both quarterbacks were sensational in the clutch. And Baker really rose and shone last night, and we'll talk more about him later in the show. But it was his best game as a pro to me from start to finish, all things considered.
Yes.
That was the Baker I knew and loved at the University of Oklahoma, where he was operating, using his legs as well as his arm, constantly on the move, rollouts, scrambles, buying time, running with the football, scrambling for a touchdown, sliding into the end zone, just full of you-know-what and vinegar, because he's at his best when he is at his hot doggy most arrogant. That's what fuels him. That's who he is. And that was vintage Baker. And yet Lamar came back in from nowhere when I least expected it and said, no, I got you. And remember, they're obviously from the same draft. And you don't think Lamar wanted to stick it to Baker in Baker's house? Yeah. It's literally Baker's house. We have to watch Baker's house every other commercial, and we had to all last night. And I still say the target he keeps painting on his back gets bigger and bigger. But last night, he lived up to it.
I think every progressive commercial is shot in that stadium.
It is. No, it is. So Lamar, and by the way, there was one vintage moment when Lamar scored early and threw the ball against a sign up against the dog pound.
And he caught it.
Yeah, and it came right back to him. And I said, this is magical, man. This might be his night. And then Baker scored when he slid into the end zone, and he fired a ball at the sign on the side of the stadium.
Don't think he wasn't trying to bounce it off the wall and catch it.
He was. He was trying to do it. And yet it came down to those crucial few minutes when we saw Lamar leave the football field. And the first thing I thought of on injury was this play. I'd like to show one play, and it happened with about 6.5 minutes left in the third quarter. And this is where I thought Lamar went a little over the edge.
I know the play you're talking about.
And he took off running, and you got to slide or you're not going to last in this league.
They made him cut back, and
he just said, I got, oh, God. Yeah. And when he did that, I said, no, you can't. That's like... That's RG3 revisited kind of a play. God bless him.
Skip, it's always that play because you see that guy that's making you cut back, but he's making you cut back into traffic because this guy's coming with cruel intentions. And I don't know if he really saw him.
He did not, and he got rocked.
Yeah.
So Jamison Hensley, who covers for ESPN.com, the Ravens, does a great job. He wrote in his piece today that Lamar, and remember, he did have he caught COVID. You know, he had to go through a COVID bout, and they reported last night on the telecast that he slept for 10 straight days. So he got rocked by the virus.
Right. He wasn't asymptomatic. He had symptoms.
He definitely did. Jameson Hensley writes that Lamar began experiencing cramps in his right arm with 5 minutes left in the third quarter. Well, that would be about a minute and a half after that play.
Right.
Well, was it from that? Was it some kind of spinal type where you're getting shooting pains down your arm? Is it about a stinger type situation? I don't know.
Right.
So that was my first thought. When he went to the locker room, I thought, uh-oh, did he get hurt on that play?
Right.
Then they reported cramps, and Jameson Hensley goes on to write that he began experiencing cramps in both legs. Well,
you can tell the way he was running, Skip. He was running stiff-legged.
A little gingerly?
Yeah.
Okay, now back to you. You played this game at the highest level. You're in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. From my experience covering the game, it is very rare to suffer cramps when the temperature at game time is 34 and the wind chill is 23 because it's so cold you don't sweat nearly as much as usual.
But here's the thing, Skip, and I had a problem. I had this very problem with cramp because I didn't like drinking water. I didn't like anything in my stomach.
That's a problem.
And here's the thing, Skip. Also, your body is working, although you don't see the perspiration, your body is working extra hard to keep you warm. So you're burning more energy than you think, and now you exacerbate the problem by not drinking water. And so I believe that's what happened with Lamar, the very thing that would happen with me. And my trainer, Steve Antonopoulos, say, Sharpe, I know you don't want to drink, but you got to drink, because I had problems in the cramp, and I couldn't understand. The very same thing you said, Skip. I'm like, man, it's 20 degrees, it's 30 degrees. Why am I cramping? But it was because I wasn't drinking water, and my body was working extra hard to keep me warm.
And obviously, Lamar was working extra hard because he'd already run for a Monday night football record of 124 yards rushing.
Correct.
So, to me, you rarely see cramps.
It is.
If it's hot weather, if it's at Miami in December, you see guys all over the field, and they're down from the cramps because you know, and I definitely know from the many marathons I ran, when you cramp, you cramp.
It's over.
It is over. And for those of you who even in bed at night, if you ever get locked up where your calf locks up, you think you're going to die for a second. That's why players go down and you think, oh, he's hurt. Oh, it's just a cramp. Thank God for that.
That's what they say, Skip. It's just a cramp, but I cramp like that. You're talking about worse than what Lamar had, Skip. In training camp, it was hot, 100 degrees, and I always wore sleeves.
Yep.
But my body locked up. And it took 5.5 bags of IV.
Okay. All right. So
dropped 13 pounds in a practice.
Okay. So I did not see Lamar go down with the cramp,
I didn't either.
right? And so it surprised me. And he was able to continue. He was ginger, but he continued to walk. I also thought he'd put the longer cleats on it. And when he was walking up the ramp, it's so slippery, he had to be a little careful as he trotted, or he's going to slip on the long cleats because he was slipping so badly on the field.
And Skip, I kept tweeting. I said the type of cleats that he has are not conducive. You have to understand, you're in Cleveland. It's at night. It's damp. It's wet. The speed, the tempo bottoms is what they call. I said he needed to change to a 7-stud so he can go down a little bit into the grass. Once he did that, Skip, he never slipped again.
He had the molded cleats on as opposed to the studs.
Yes,
where you have
he needed the 7-stud.
They're like screwed in, you know, right?
Yes.
Right.
And guys don't, nobody like, they're tough on your feet, Skip, because I would practice in the tempo.
They're terrible.
Yeah, I would practice in those, and then I would wear the 7-studs in the game to try to save my feet. But you have to understand, sometimes I never went out to warm up, and that's why Mike would always ask us, okay, go out, warm up, test your cleats, see what you like. And I would always ask the guys, so what do you think? How's the turf? Ask Doug West and Flip, who was our equipment man, what is the turf like? And so that would give me an idea of the type of shoe that I would need. So
Lamar goes in, and obviously Twitter ran wild with the notion maybe he needed a bathroom break, right?
No.
And it's possible he did. I don't know what happened, but he was just adamant after the game, I cramped up.
Right, I believe him.
And it was written that he needed IV.
Yes.
Okay, so he needed a saline solution of intravenous fluids.
Right.
So you're going to have to get the needle in your arm, and you're going to have to sit for a few minutes and let it run through your system to obviously rehydrate you, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You're looking at anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay. And then he said he was getting re-stretched by the trainer because everything's crampy, your calves, everything's locked up.
Right.
So he's stretching, and I assume he's watching it on the TV. And he said that all of a sudden I was catching an attitude because he saw what was happening because he left. It was 34 to 20.
Right.
Right?
Correct.
And look, Baker had just thrown his first interception in forever, and it looked like ball game, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it looked like it was Baker's
Well, Skip,
night.
he didn't have a choice because they got no other quarterbacks. RG3 is on IR. Trace McSorley had just gone down. Lamar is the only quarterback unless they go to the emergency quarterback, and I'm thinking Willie Snead IV or Hollywood Brown is going to be your options. So it's 4th down, Skip, 4th and 5, and you got to go to Willie Snead IV or you go to Hollywood Brown to try to pick up a 4th down.
Yep. And then to your point, he returns just as almost like right on schedule. No offense, I'm knocking on wood for Trace. I hope he's okay because he got his left leg caught underneath him and it looked not good.
It looked bad. It did.
Right?
Yes.
Left knee wrenched. Don't know what the outcome of that was. But if Trace doesn't get hurt, I don't know what happens.
Right.
I don't know. Could he complete a 4th down pass? He's capable. He's a tough kid. He's a gamer.
Well, Joe Woods, the defensive coordinator from Cleveland, must have thought that was McSorley still in the ball game because otherwise I don't understand why you would blitz him in that situation. And Skip, if you blitz up the middle, you must tell your end. You've got to contain. Because Skip, if you get wide, because even if he didn't throw it, he's going to pick up the 1st down with his legs.
Yep. Well, you realize we were real close to that being Willie Snead?
Yes.
Because he was the emergency quarterback as the receiver who just caught the big pass from Trace McSorley, right? That almost saved the game right there. So we almost had a Willie Snead 4th down, and I don't know what John Harbaugh would have done if he would have just said, I give up or I...
Skip, and this is another reason coaches always said it's kind of hard to have 2 quarterbacks that are very different on your roster because now Greg Roman.
Remember, RG3 is now hurt and he was the backup.
Correct. Yeah. But now, Skip, you got to call plays. You go from calling plays for Lamar Jackson to basically calling plays for Trace McSorley, who's more of a drop back than more of a mobile quarterback on the move. So now you got to go into a totally different, because I'm good. I'm calling plays from Lamar. I'm dialing up. It's going good. And now I got Trace McSorley. And so now I got to think about, okay, what can he do really well against what they're trying to take away from us?
Yeah, exactly. So Lamar breaks contain. He gets outside. He's on the move, and he looked 1,000% healthy, back to life, right? And he is such a threat that corners and safeties just freeze. And Hollywood, who had already dropped 2, you could argue 3 passes before. He just breaks free behind them because they're frozen, and Lamar just floats it pretty right up to him and into his hands, and it's here we go.
And that's the thing that's so hard, Skip, when you're dealing with guys like Lamar and dealing with guys like Kyler. Skip, you got to stay plastered because if you come up, everybody, that's your guy. But you saw he was about to run to get the 1st down. Don't worry about that. If he gets the 1st down, we can live with that. We make him go 3, 4 more downs.
I think they decided in their subconscious he's a bigger threat to run than to throw. Because I think he had at that point like 80 yards passing. Right around 80.
He had more yards on the final 2 drives than he had in the previous 2.5 quarters.
So then he comes back for the final possession, and instead of running, they go throw, and he goes 14 and 14 to Mark Andrews, and then a 6-yard completion and a 4-yard completion, and all of a sudden, the greatest distance kicker I have ever seen. I have never seen anything like Justin Tucker.
And he's small, man, Skip. He's not a big man.
He's small. No one has ever gotten the lift on kicks that this young man gets. They launch. I don't know how he gets it up so high so quick. But it just launches. He's 42 of 49 in his career from 50-plus yards. That's unheard of. A lot of guys are that good or bad on extra points, right?
Skip, if he was in a dome, you could understand it.
I agree.
If he kicked in Miami or Tampa or warm weather, you could understand it. He's kicking in Baltimore. He's kicking in Pittsburgh. He's kicking in Cleveland. He's kicking in Cincinnati. The lion's share of his career. And for him to have those kind of numbers, it just goes to show you. I agree with you. He's the greatest distant kicker. Now, obviously, Vinatieri is more clutch because he's had more opportunities. But
Definitely, yes.
Vinatieri ain't kicking bombs like remember he kicked that 61-yarder to beat Detroit on a Monday. I think it was a Monday night.
And when I think of distance, I think of Sebastian Janikowski, and he was like 225, maybe 250. I don't know. Right?
Yeah.
And this is a slender young man who was undrafted.
Right.
Are you kidding me? And look what he did again. And he constantly does that. And he's got a chance on the arc he's on to eclipse Adam Vinatieri, right?
Yeah,
Okay, back to the question. Was this the game of the year? I got to tell you, I'm racking my brain, and maybe this is happening too fast, but it might be the greatest Monday night game ever. And I hark back to one that we just raved and gushed about here for an entire show back. It was played on November 19th of 2018, a Monday night game, remember, between Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
And that was final score, Rams winning 54-51. But what undercut the greatness of that duel was Mahomes had a rough night.
Right.
It was great bad.
Right.
And we see that occasionally from him. But he was great. He threw for 478, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 2 lost fumbles.
Right.
So Mahomes had 5 turnovers.
Right.
Same kind of game. Both teams combined for 35 fourth-quarter points, but it never seemed like this.
Right.
It didn't feel like the shootout that this was.
Maybe Skip, you remember the Jets, Miami, that Monday night game? That
I do.
They ended up having that. That was a good one. But Skip, this, for the amount of the seesaw back and forth in the last 3 minutes, you're like, well, Cleveland got this one. And then, like, did he just go down the field running the football? Did he just go down the field in like a minute? No, it wasn't even a minute, because he came in, as soon as he came in, the 4th and 5, he threw a touchdown. So in like 10 seconds, he had the lead to get a 2-point conversion. Now they up 7. He's like, okay, Baker, what you got?
Yep.
Baker says, I got this. You're like, oh, well, they go into overtime. Lamar said, no, we're not. And I know my thing was, Chuck, you got 55 in you? That's good from 60 plus.
Yep. It was. No, I agree. So I'm going to go out on the end of the limb and say, I can't remember a better regular season game in this decade, than that one. So I'll go regular season game of the decade. Obviously, the Brady comeback in the Super Bowl against the Falcons. I don't know if it's great, bad. It's like greatness on one side and really not greatness by the Falcons, but obviously they came from 28 to 3
23, 25 points down.
That'll work for great. That was on the Super Bowl stage, but this is regular season, Monday night. Doesn't get any better than this.
It doesn't, Skip. And you look at what happened is that when Jimmy Smith, the thing that Ravens can do, they can pressure you because they got, 3 number 1 draft picks at the corner position. Jimmy Smith, Marlon Humphrey, and Peters, Marcus Peters. But once Jimmy Smith went down, they had to bring his backup in.
And remember, Marcus Peters went out mid-4th quarter with some kind of calf.
Yeah, I think it might have been he slipped. He was looking in the backfield, and the guy turned and ran and got a touchdown on him. So I think it was more of his pride than his leg.
Maybe.
But, Skip, when you get what we call in football, we call it a fish. And when you get a fish, Skip, you don't let him go now. You don't let him off the hook. You make sure you take him to the market.
Yep.
And you see what Baker was doing. He's like, I'm not fooling with you, Marlon. I'm not fooling with you, Peters. I got him. And if y'all don't give him help, we're going to go right down the field on him. And what did they do? Boom, boom, boom. But... And I think they also knew Bowser made a heck of a play, Skip. When we say buzz the flat, that's what we mean. Get out under the flat route. Take away the out. Take away the hook route. That's what you're supposed to. That's how you play it.
It was almost like a zone blitz where you thought he was coming, and then he just backed out and broke.
Yes.
And Baker didn't make I think he got a little fooled. He didn't anticipate. And remember, that's his first interception in 187 throws.
Yes.
And what a snag it was, one-handed snag.
Yes. Normally, Skip, most times, that's an incomplete.
Yeah.
The ball hits his hand and it goes to the ground.
So when that happened, and he nearly pick-sixed it.
Yes.
And it took one play, touchdown, I thought that was it.
Yeah.
I thought that was the end of the line for Baker and the Browns as we had loved them recently. And then here they storm back. And there went Lamar to the locker room.
Skip, you look at Baltimore, and they're going 70 yards in 4 plays, touchdown. They go, obviously, after that play right there, 1 play, a touchdown. And then they go 9 for 79 for a touchdown. Skip, when you run the ball, you're like, oh, man, they about to chew up 8, 9, 10 minutes of the clock. Skip, they're chewing up a minute, 2 minutes, running the football. That's unheard of.
Wow.
But I don't know what Cleveland, Skip. If I'm playing the Baltimore Ravens, same with the Tennessee Titans, the Cleveland Browns, I got to make your quarterback beat me throwing the football, Skip. They're the top 3 rushing teams. Lamar Jackson is more dangerous with his legs than with his arms. And somehow the creases that he was getting, I'm like, bro, do y'all watch film? Does anybody watch film, Skip? Does anybody study anymore?
Yeah. He is just so explosively quick and fast. It's unbelievable. I think it doesn't even show up on tape just how quick and fast.
Well, you can't simulate that because I remember the Cowboys said, well, we had Cedric Wilson playing quarterback to try to mimic Lamar. No.
And by the way, you realize his QBR last night was 99.5, which is pretty close to 100, and that was tied for the 8th best of all time QBR, and 4 of the top 8 belong to that man, Lamar. He looked like the reigning MVP last night. That's the first time all year that was an MVP caliber.
So if you think about, Skip, the 2 drops that he had by Hollywood and the 2 overthrows, he really should have been perfect. He should have been perfect toward the football.
No mercy.
What's up, Undisputed listeners? It's your boy, Sharpe. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay, where we always do something before 2 something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now back to Undisputed.
No mercy.
Kyrie Irving finally spoke with the media for the first time this season, and not surprisingly, he had a lot to say. Months after saying the coaching in Brooklyn would be a collaborative effort, Kyrie praised new coach Steve Nash as, quote, amazing. The All-Star point guard also addressed the James Harden trade rumors, saying, quote, that part of our business is going to be what it is. James is a great player, and we wish him well. And finally, when asked about his Pons comment about the media and why he was avoiding reporters previously, Kyrie explained, quote, the focus is on what's going on here, and I wanted to make sure that was clear. No distractions, nothing about dispelling anything, nothing about going back and forth. Shannon, did you like his explanation?
Well, I don't listen to Kyrie anymore because I'm going to sit back one day and regret the minutes that I did spend listening to him, Skip. So I don't listen to Kyrie anymore, Skip. This is what he said. He said, it was really just about how I felt about the mistreatment of certain artists when we get to a certain platform of when we make decisions with our lives to have full control and ownership. We want to perform in a secure and protected space. Skip, what the hell is that?
What is that? Good question. Thank you.
Skip, the NBA is not trying to suppress you. The NBA says if you're healthy, the NFL, the MLB, if you're healthy, you got to talk to the media. Skip, that's it. Not that you got to go to Siberia, not that you got to go all over the place. And it's easy now, Skip, it's a Zoom call. They're not even in the locker room. You just get in front of your camera or a computer and you just talk. What was this? He wants to feel protected in a secure workspace. What? Somehow Kyrie thinks because he's gotten online and he's read some self-help books that now he's this intellect. Bro, play basketball. That's all you got to do. Just play basketball. And trust me, the Nets would trade you. If Kevin Durant signed off on it, they would trade you to Houston for James Harden. All they had to do is Kevin Durant gave the green light. Now, Skip, look. If he can't make it work with KD, I don't know where he can make it work. Because he's worn out his welcome in a lot of different places. And Boston, there's no, man, we got to keep Kyrie. Kyrie, please stay. They were glad to see him out the door. I just don't get this kid. No, bro, just do your job. I understand that you feel you've had this enlightening and you've gone overseas and you've researched and did all that. But, bro, you got to let this go, man. Because you sound more and more ridiculous as the time go by. This is nothing. Bro, I just don't get it, Skip. Like I said, I stopped listening to him for a minute because I know I'm going to sit back one day, hopefully in another 20 summers from now, and I'm going to like, man, that's time I'm never going to get back from listening to Kyrie and his bull job.
Well said. So, on this subject, over the last week, I've heard from 2 longtime sources I've had in this league, 2 really smart men who both asked me in text, has Kyrie Irving lost it? As in lost touch with reality, as in gone over the edge into what you say is sort of delusions of grandeur? Look, he's always had high intellect. He's always been a deep thinker. But there are times you can think yourself into oblivion, and it feels like he's heading in that direction. He needs to be reeled back in. He's lost all touch with who he is and what he represents and what his responsibility is to the game that pays him whatever it is, $40 million a year. As we talked the other day, he has a commitment to help promote the game instead of biting the hand that feeds it.
Correct.
That's what he does. He bites the hand. Now, here's the irony of this whole circumstance. For the very wrong reason, for the worst reason, for all these reasons that you just touched on, it's actually better for the team if he doesn't speak to the media because he always puts sneaker in mouth, right?
You might be right,
it
Skip.
helps the team
Right.
when he basically boycotts because then he doesn't put the team in harm's way. He doesn't put the unity of the team because what does he usually do? He did it last year, throws team under bus, right?
But here's the thing, though, Skip. When he doesn't talk, guess who has to answer questions
I
for
got
him?
it. No, I got it.
KD and LeVert and Dinwiddie and all the other guys. Well, why isn't Kyrie? And they said, well, he was healthy. Because if he's not healthy, Skip, we get it. You don't have to talk to the media. But everybody says, well, hey, he looks good to me. It looks like he's healthy. So he was basically just like, Skip, and Kyrie's done some good things. He's given $1.5 million to help with the WNBA.
Yep.
He's given to some worthy causes.
Agreed.
But I think sometimes he overthinks the situation.
He overthinks. But that statement that he made in his statement of I do not talk to pawns might be the all-time condescending, arrogant deal breaker of a statement because as we talked about with you were great with the media, and it does help you in the long run because it buys you a little insurance. If you have a bad game, the media is a little more hesitant to pounce upon you. They give you some break because you've been really good, Shannon Sharpe, to the media. You've been the voice of the team. You've been the go-to source for everybody. When things are at their bleakest and you need a statement on the Denver Broncos, you went to Shannon Sharpe's locker because he was available and he was willing to talk about the good and the bad, right?
But Skip, what's the pawn?
The pawns are just the lowly media, right? Who just get in your way. They ask you questions that are beneath your dignity to even answer. How dare you? I'm an artist. I need a protected space. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
I don't need to stoop to have to listen to their questions and actually answer. Well, when you do stoop and answer, you always get yourself in more trouble than it's worth.
He's starting to remind me and sound like Kanye. This sounds like very Kanye West.
You know what? That's a great analogy, and I do agree. It's heading down that path. This is the Kanye path. So then he goes so far yesterday as to say, I didn't intend, I do not talk to pawns. I didn't intend that to be about any individual or any group of individuals. Well, yes, you did.
Yeah.
It was just strictly about
So who else you going to talk to?
I don't know. So you're walking that back, or you're trying. Then he tried to walk back his comment about Steve Nash, how they don't need a coach of this team. And he said, you know, Steve's been amazing. He kind of commands respect. Kind of commands? That's sort of damning with faint praise.
Yes.
I think I've got to take back my comments in terms of the head coach. And then he goes on to say, but we're also doing a great job of coaching each other to make us all better. I think he's still trying to say, but really we know more about it than Steve does, right? Because he might have played a long time ago. All he did was win back-to-back.
Back-to-back MVPs.
Okay, got it. So then finally, Kyrie makes this statement. He says that he's talking about how he refers to him and Kevin Durant as 7-11. Now, Kevin's wearing 7, and he's wearing 11 since Boston. He wore 2 at Cleveland, obviously. But he says, 7-11, you better get to know us, get to know you. So you're calling yourself 7-11, which is like, I love 7-Elevens, but it's like a convenience store. And I don't know if you want to compare you and Kevin Durant to a convenience store.
Yeah. Who doesn't know Kevin Durant?
That's what I'm saying.
He's a two-time Finals MVP. He's a league MVP. He's arguably he's probably one of the top 5 most unstoppable players. He has an unstoppable shot. We know who KD is. Kyrie, we know you also.
Yes, we do know. So you better get to know 7-Eleven. We got it. I'm in awe already. And by the way, it didn't hurt. All this hubbub didn't hurt either one of them in their first preseason game because Kyrie was really good in that game, and so was Kevin, right?
If LeBron and AD says, y'all better get to know Tucker Horton. Taylor, THT. Y'all better get to know him. Okay,
got it. LeBron called him special in a tweet.
I'm going to pay attention to this dude because AD and LeBron say we need to get to know these dudes.
Got it. Another good analogy. I
But
agree.
you're talking about Kevin Durant, who's a, 12, 13-time All-Star. You talk about a guy, and Kyrie's been a multiple-time All-Star, who's made big shots on big stages. And we need to get to know you guys, okay?
So then I wondered, why did Kevin choose to wear 7 at Nets?
Right.
And there's a Wall Street Journal article that said that he chose 7 because it represents in the Bible completion, because on the 7th day, God rested.
Correct.
So now I'm thinking, are you trying to say you're God's gift, or you know, like,
so now he's
you're the
complete,
ultimate creation?
This is it.
Like God made Kevin Durant and said, whew, I got to take a day off.
I was at OKC. I was at Golden State. Now I'm complete. I'm here.
Okay.
This is
All
where I
right.
choose to be Skip. Hey.
Both of them are sometimes way out there. They're both anti-media. They both have bitten the hands that fed them.
Right.
My favorite Kevin Durant story of all time is at the All-Star game after the year he had been voted the MVP of the league. What an honor. And then that same group, most of them all voters, he says, you guys don't know bleep about basketball. You don't?
If I was Skip, I did not raise my hand like Kevin. I voted for you for the MVP. So
I take it back.
Are you saying I got it wrong?
Yeah, I got it wrong. I take it back. These two, what a pair. And yet Kyrie seems to be, of this duo, the leader, because it was Kyrie who said, Kevin, let's not, we don't want to go to the Knicks. Let's go to the Nets.
Right.
Really? Okay, I'll go to the Nets.
Right.
They're like 2 kids at a sleepover, you know, at one of their houses. Oh, let's do that. Okay,
Right.
Here we go.
And KD said, you know, hey, everybody thought I was going to the Knicks. He said, but I don't want that. I said, I'm not in awe of, you know, being in Madison Square Garden and being some savior of the Knicks. That's not who I am. And he's really not, Skip. I mean, you look at him and you watch him, you're like, well, dang. He doesn't care about being a leader. All he wants to do is play basketball. Yeah, I don't care nothing about no lead. Oh, Steph, you, Draymond, Clay, y'all want to lead? Fine. Russ, you want to lead? Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Just let me. All I want to do is hoop.
Okay, so I reiterate my stance on Kevin. I still think he's the best player on the planet. He's just been out of sight, out of mind.
Mm-hmm.
I reiterate my stance on Kyrie. He's still great. He made a great clutch shot, 2016 finals. He can be incredibly clutch and has the best handle in the game, and he still does.
Yes.
But I just hope these two can stay out of each other's own way. You know, can they get out of their own way enough for this team to survive and then thrive?
Yeah, because I guess Kevin has his moods, and I think the thing is, Skip, is that what Kevin is looking for, he went to Golden State, he won 2 titles, and it didn't give him the peace and the validation that he thought it would get.
And he won back-to-back finals MVP.
And people still said LeBron is better.
Yep,
because they said, hold on, wait a minute. If LeBron is the best player, I beat him twice on the biggest stage, doesn't that make me the best player? No, you just happen to be on the best team. And so I think the battle, because he even said, once he won the title, he's like, that's it? Well, I mean, I thought, nope, that's it, KD. And so hopefully now, Skip, he's at a place now he wants to be, and he's not going to be thought about of tagging along, because they're like, well, KD, those guys really didn't need you.
Yep.
Now he's in a place that the Brooklyn Nets, they need him. And if he were to secure a title for them, it would mean more than both of the titles that he won at Golden State. And people will have a totally different perspective of who Kevin Durant is. I already know he's great, but he wins the title there, Skip.
Totally agree. So I always say that your man, LeBron James, is by far the most interesting man in sports, maybe in sports history, because it's always something with him. He has a great story dynamic around him. It just, there's a new story a day. I even tweeted about LeBron last night. We're going to talk about it later, but he's tweeting about the Browns. I'll save that for later.
Yeah. He was on that Lobo, Skip, so he wasn't out there right. He wasn't in his right mind last night.
All right, but I always say the Lakers are extremely fascinating to watch from day to day. This team is going to rival them, the Nets, on sheer intrigue from day to day. It's going to be a story a day with these
Think about how many national televised games that they have. They weren't putting the Brooklyn Nets on TV last year, even with Kyrie. Kevin Durant is the reason why they're about to have, I think the Lakers have 17. I think they got like 13 or 14. There's a reason why the Brooklyn Nets on national television.
The opening act on, when is it, a week from?
They're opening night? Opening night.
Opening night.
The Warriors go to Brooklyn.
Warriors at Nets.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. When the last time the Brooklyn Nets opened up on national TV?
Here we go.
Well,
but you
we're
know who
always
the
gonna
headline
wanna
is.
at least see what he's saying. He always makes it interesting, that's for sure. I want to go back to talking about what we saw last night. So many angles. So obviously it was an incredible game, and the fourth quarter really got all the headlines. Lamar Jackson dominated the bulk of the game with his running ability. His 124 rushing yards were the most ever by a quarterback on Monday Night Football. And with the win, the Ravens improved to 8-5, but are still on the outside of the AFC playoff picture due to losing a conference record tiebreaker with the Dolphins. So, Shannon, how dangerous would the Ravens be if they were in the playoffs?
Well, Skip, they can be very dangerous. Come on a given night, this kid can go get you a $150, almost 200 yards running the football. The question is defensively. I don't think they are where they were last year defensively. And if a team forces Lamar to beat him through the air, can he do it? Because we've seen Skip, he's struggled in 2 playoff games. What we've seen is that they force him to beat them throwing the football. And it was a debacle last year. Yeah, when you look at the stat line, like, damn, Lamar had almost 550 yards of total offense. But you realize the turnovers, the fumbles, the interceptions, and playing constantly from behind. And what teams try to do, Skip, they try to put him in a situation where he has to throw the football. Now, it's a lot easier said than done to put them in a situation where Lamar his legs are ineffective. But you got to get them down by probably 14, 17 points, which the Titans did, which the Chargers did. And so now we force you to throw the football.
We're talking about the two home playoff
games that they've lost. So can they be dangerous? Yeah, as long as you got 8. Yeah, Jack can dominate a game. They can run the ball for 300 yards on you. Take your offense totally out of the game. But the question is that the problem that they have when they play a team like Kansas City races out 17-14, and then all of a sudden Lamar Jackson's legs are neutralized and he has to throw, and so he plays into a team's hand. But can they be dangerous? Absolutely, because you saw what he did last night. He's capable of doing that. Can he do that for 3 or 4 games? Absolutely. He won the MVP, unanimous last year. So he had more than 2 or 3 games like he would need to have in the playoffs in order to get all the way home. So sure, they could, but I don't feel as confident this year as I felt last year, because I don't think their defense is as good, and I haven't seen the consistency that I saw from Lamar throwing the football last year to this year.
I have not either. So my answer to this question, you should disqualify. Before the year started, I thought this team was on the precipice of saying, watch this, we're going to right the wrong of our home playoff loss, and we're going to the Super Bowl. And I picked the Ravens to win it all this year. And I'll hang in with my pick only because of what I saw last night. That was a huge win.
It was.
For this team, a huge escape. It was Houdini, it was storybook, it was fairy tale. And again, you always laugh at my Cowboys. It could be a launching pad. But I would trust this team to use this as a launching team, a pad, a lot more than my team. Okay, so the Ravens played the easiest remaining schedule in all the league. They got Jacksonville at home, New York Giants at home, and finish at Cincinnati.
They should go 3-0.
They should go 3-0. I don't know about the injuries to Jimmy Smith and maybe Marcus Peters, but you made a point. Maybe his pride was hurt as much as his calf.
Even the backup, Devontae Harris, ended up going down.
Yeah, he did. So I don't know about how that's going to affect them going forward. So it's going to be dictated by the injury gods. But here's the weird thing about this. If they do eke in to the final playoff spot, right now they're outside looking in.
Yes.
But they need to win out, and they still have high percentage chance. I think it's almost 90%.
Because I think Miami still has to play Buffalo.
Yep. So they're favored to make the playoffs. If they do, they're almost certainly going on the road, right?
Yes.
So what have we seen from Lamar? Well, as you say, when he's right, he's just a force of nature.
Yeah.
He can beat anybody.
Yeah.
And what I loved about the Ravens last night, you can speak to as well as anybody on this planet, this side of Ray Lewis. I just love the tradition of that team, and it still permeates that locker room.
Absolutely.
They know what you did and what Ray did. They feel it in their bones because they put on that purple, and that it's like, this franchise has done this for a long time.
It's good when you talk about, you hear Miami Heat talk about culture.
Yep.
Where it started, Baltimore is culture.
Ozzie Newsome.
Yes.
Okay. So at home, for reasons inexplicable to me so far, Lamar has been disastrous. 2 stinkers of home playoff games, losses. And then this year, he's had 2 more big primetime stinkers at home at the hands of Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and the Steelers.
Right.
Both just embarrassed him at home.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to give you the cumulative stats of those 4 home losses for Lamar. He's thrown 7 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, but in those games, he's fumbled 9 times and lost 5 of them. That's all 4 of those stinkers, all at home,
Right.
all in Baltimore, a place you guys used to just own,
Yes.
right? His QBR for those 4 games on average was 24. Again, last night he had 99.5,
Right.
okay? He's got 4 of the top 8 QBRs of all time, but guess what? All 4 of those came on the road.
Which would be good because they'll be on the road.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So last year in his MVP run, he had 3 of those top 8. And they started off, remember the opener at Miami?
Yep.
He was 99.5. And then he had a game at Cincinnati, 99.8. And then at the Rams last year when they just destroyed them on
That
Monday
should've been
Night
100
Football.
game.
Well, it was close. It was 99.8. So my point to you is he's now had 4 of these 99.5 to 0.8 games.
Right.
All 4 on the road. Well, if this is road warrior time for the Ravens, I'm still going to give them an outside shot at winning the AFC. But obviously, to do that, all roads lead through Kansas City.
Yep.
So what would be the odds? They would have to go in and flip the script.
Yes.
They would have to go right down with the, let's say, opening kickoff or whenever their first possession is, and they would need to go ahead 7-0 because
Yes.
that's the only way this team is going to.
Yeah, you
to do
definitely
it.
you have to possess the football. And you have to play out those possessions with touchdowns instead of field goals. Sometimes people make the mistake, Skip. They're like, well, we had the ball for 8 minutes, but you kicked the field goal.
Yep.
Yeah, and Mahomes don't need but about a minute to go down the field and get a touchdown.
Agreed.
And what you've done, all that hard work is basically out the window because you're like, hold on. We just had the ball for 8 minutes. He had the ball for a minute, and they're ahead, 7-3.
Yep.
The question I have for you, Skip, who would you fear more in the playoffs, Cleveland or Baltimore?
Baltimore. As much as I like Baker, and we're going to talk about Baker in a moment here, but
I say the same thing.
just on,
Because of Lamar.
it's Lamar, but it's also guts, pride, tradition, just that baller mentality. They have it. And on defense, those 2 corners are really good. I don't care. Hey, listen, you know Humphrey's the father,
yeah.
right? Okay. And Marcus Peters, I know he clues. I know you can.
They go high-low him, Skip. They just high-low him every time because they know.
He got burned last night on one of those.
Skip, he's looking to get that cheap pick.
Yep, he is. But he can really play.
Oh, yeah.
He can play make. And once they got Calais back, and I remind everybody, this team has been COVID-racked.
Yes.
It sort of racked the psyche of this team because it was an outbreak,
Right.
man. And they were losing players right and left, and they lost practice time. They lost continuity. If they take off from last night, I still give them a shot because when you have those 2 corners and you can rush, you got Judon and Calais to rush the passer and get hands up.
Ngakwe.
Yep.
But Skip, I thought with the addition of Ngakwe and Judon and Calais, I thought they would generate more pressure than what they've generated. And they still can't get consistent pressure on the quarterback. And I think when you play that much man coverage, you're asking an awful lot of your corners to hold up that length of time. And what you see is that you see Baker take off and scramble for first downs. You also see him scramble and buy times and guys come open. So you're going to have more integrity as far as responsibility, not letting the quarterbacks get outside. But for the most part, you look, Mahomes got legs. Tannehill will make you pay. Big Ben really not trying to run. Josh Allen can make you play with his legs.
Definitely.
So you got to be careful, but I definitely would trust them more than Cleveland for the simple fact Lamar Jackson is scary. You don't want to see him.
Very scary, and for some reason he's scarier on the road.
Yes.
Remember his first meeting with Mahomes?
Yes.
That was when I first noticed Lamar. That's when I first said, "Wait a second."
It took 2 fourth-down throws.
Yeah.
Mahomes had to throw a 4th down to both times. One time to Tyreek.
Yeah.
Skip, it was 4th and 4, 4th and 5, and he threw it like 40 yards down the field. And then it was 4th and goal, and he hit, I think, Williams for a touchdown. So it took that.
That was the coming out party for Lamar where I sat back and said, wait a second, I think maybe the league just missed on Lamar Jackson because everybody except Ozzie said no.
Right.
Right?
You're exactly right. And John Harbaugh says, hey, Why we keep banging our head against the wall, saying we got to get a guy? How about get this guy and build a system around him, and let's go from there? It takes a lot of guts, Skip, to think outside of the box when you're dealing with that position.
Yep.
That's the one position, because everybody wants prototypical. Everybody wants 6'4", Skip, 240, drop back passer, boom. But now,
Joe Flacco.
Yeah. Now, Skip, you got to get guys that can move.
Yep.
The guys are too good. If the guy can't move, he's a sitting duck.
Got it.
No mercy.
Hey, Undisputed listeners, it's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you.
Baker Mayfield played one of his best games of the year. Baker threw for a season-high 343 passing yards and scored 3 total touchdowns. And Mayfield seems totally comfortable in new coach Kevin Stefanski's play-action system and still has the Browns right in the thick of the AFC playoff picture. So, Shannon, I know it took you a bit to turn, into a Baker fan. Do you believe he's turning into a top 10 quarterback?
Skip, he's gotten a lot safer with the football. This is his first interception in the last 6 games. But I still believe the offense operates better when it's Chubb, Hunt, and then allow him to play action. Now, I saw them kept flashing stats, and I couldn't hear what they were saying, but they were saying, from what I could see, his numbers are substantially better out of the play action as opposed to just drop back. Skip, and for me, the question is, for you to be a top 10, can you be the first option? In other words, the run game has been neutralized. They said, the hell with the run game. Throw us to a victory. Can Baker be that? Because, Skip, he had 6 games this season in which he has not been the first option, and he's thrown for less than 200 yards. His only 2 300-yard games came in the last 2 weeks. Now, he was exemplary against the Titans. He was great last night. He made one mistake, but I still believe he played one of his better ball games this year last night. That is the question. In order for you to be a top 10, can you be the first option and deliver more times than not? And that's the question I need to see a little bit more from Baker, as opposed to, because I know once they get that running game going with Kareem Hunt and Chubb Rock, because they run hard, they punish people. They're looking, if they get to your second level, they're not running out of bounds, Skip. They're trying to run through your safety. They're trying to run through your corners. So that is the question. Can Baker be the first option? I'm going to need to see a little more, but I like what I saw over the last 2 weeks.
Okay. I'm going to go to your favorite website, Pro Football Focus, and I'm just going to premise everything I say, precede it with this. Over the last 7 weeks, 7 games, and not coincidentally, this is since Odell was lost.
Right.
Okay, so over 7 games, Pro Football Focus has ranked or rated or graded Baker Mayfield as the 3rd best quarterback over that stretch in the National Football League. He's 13 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions. One we've just talked about came last night, and that was his first interception in 6 games, and it came after 187 no-interception throws. So my friend Jake Trotter wrote on ESPN.com today, who covers the Browns, that since week 7, Baker Mayfield has quietly been one of the league's better quarterbacks. Quietly been. What has Baker ever done quietly in his life, right? But it is quiet because there's been a slow emergence of what I think is an edge of the top 10. I could put him at 10th right now, quarterback, because he's been graded 3rd over that time, and I would agree with that grade. You look at his QBRs, they're really good over those 7 games. I still believe, and I'm going to dig in on this, Baker got too Odell-centric. He got too caught up in Odell because he loves Odell. He's in awe of Odell. He idolizes Odell, sort of on and off the field. He wants to socialize with Odell, and a big part of him wants to be Odell in the spotlight, the social media spotlight, to be superstar quality off the field, as Odell obviously is. And because of that, I felt like he forced too many balls to Odell to the detriment of the ball movement and his ability to spread the ball around the offense.
Okay.
And when he was a rookie, his favorite receiver was Rashard Higgins, who suddenly fell out of favor last year and a half. Right. And then all of a sudden, once Odell went down, look who's caught the most yards receiving is Rashard Higgins.
Yep.
That's become his go-to receiver. Jarvis, over those 7 games, Rashard has 415 yards to 409 for Jarvis.
Okay.
So Jarvis is back in place as the number 1 receiver, clearly, and he still goes to him. He's still caught 36 to 26 for Rashard over the 7 games. But all of a sudden, Peoples-Jones has emerged as a pretty good receiver. He's big, he's rangy, he can run. Mm-hmm. That throw that Baker made to him just before he hit Kareem Hunt with what became the go-ahead touchdown, this was with about 2 minutes left. If we could see this one throw, this is a rocket. This is a 30-yard pass on an out route right to the boundary.
I don't know if I might have challenged that, Skip.
Well,
you think he got his second foot down? I think he stepped down on...
Okay, well, that's another issue.
Yeah.
But the throw
It was
is
a great
beautiful.
throw.
That was his throw of the night to me. That's what he's capable of, and obviously that was a pure pocket pass.
Yes.
But once again...
Oh, I thought I was thinking about the Kareem Hunt.
Okay, the Kareem, he didn't get... Okay, I think he did get...
Yeah, he got his foot, but I thought that was the Kareem Hunt.
Okay,
Remember Kareem Hunt ran the flatten up.
Okay, it was also a good catch, but this is a flat-out rocket from a guy who's got a big arm for his size. He's 6'1".
Right.
Okay, last night was Oklahoma Baker. That's the first time as a pro football player that I saw a Kevin Stefanski put him in position that Lincoln Riley did to be Baker Mayfield, which is he's athletic. He's not Lamar, obviously, but he can move around.
But, Skip, if you look, all you have to do is look at the Browns, Green Bay, Minnesota, the Niners. All of that up the Shanahan tree. A lot of that to run the football, play action. We're going to get you to the edge.
Got it.
And you'll be, if you look at Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers stays on the move.
He does. and Baker, like some of the rest of them, even Kirk Cousins, I think he's most accurate on the move. And it doesn't matter if he's going right or left because he can throw it across body very accurately. And he makes more plays on the move, but he's not incapable of doing what you just saw straight from the pocket.
Right.
But when you get him moving, all of a sudden his RPM goes up and he's scrambling, he's buying time, he's tormenting the pass rush because he can escape.
Right.
That's what he did at Oklahoma. That's how he dominated college football with some of the best stats we'd ever seen until Kyler came along the next year.
So you say he's on the cusp. So obviously we got the big 3, Mahomes, Rodgers, and Russ.
Yep.
So where would you put him with Deshaun Watson, Allen, Goff, Big Ben, Kyler?
Better than Goff.
You take him better than Goff?
And right now, to me, he's playing at a slightly higher level than Kyler, but Kyler's coming.
What about Allen?
Well, it's a close call between them.
Josh Allen's playing unbelievable.
Yeah, but he's had some stinkers too, and I thought he had a stinker of a first half the other night. Baker, once he gets his legs underneath him, once he gets where his equilibrium is right, where he's in balance, run pass, as he was last night, that was a tour de force of him. That's him at his best. And remember, he's been through how many coaches now? What's he had, 5?
Yeah. Well, he had Freddie K, Hugh Jack. That's it. Greg Williams.
Greg Williams for a while.
Yeah.
But they keep changing offensive coordinators.
Right.
And my point is, he's still a young player, and you see what he's capable of. Well, that's what he did in college, and that's what he's capable of doing in pro football. And over those 7 games, I think Odell was the worst thing that could have happened to him, even though I'm taking it's no knock on Odell. It was just too much of a good thing. And remember, he didn't even have Austin Hooper last night, which I thought was a big offseason addition to give him a security blanket tight end. And last night they had to go to that Harrison Bryant, who's the 4th-round pick from Florida Atlantic, who looks like he's got a lot of ability, but he's not.
Tight ends play a major role in the West Coast offense.
Do they?
Look at Tanyan in Green Bay.
Right.
Look at Kittle. Look at, I forgot, Kelsey.
Yep.
Look at Kelsey. Look at all the tight ends, the tight end in Minnesota, Rudolph.
Yep.
And that's why they went out and spent a lot of money on Austin Hooper. Plays a big role. But Baker, if he keeps on this progression, because last year he turned the ball over entirely
Way
too
too
much.
much.
Because you told me, Skip, he's a careful gambler. I'm like, well, he's just throwing his money away because the 20 interceptions, that's too many.
Yep. But last night, he was pretty careful with the football.
He was great. I mean, 343, 28 of 47, 343. You could live with that.
Yep.
You can live with that.
Clutch, came up big in the fourth quarter. What the Browns got away with last night, they fumbled the football 7 times and lost none of them. That's just luck.
That's unheard of.
It's unheard of.
You normally lose at least 2 of those, Skip.
But last year, the 7 fumbles would have been 4 by Baker, and this time it was just 1 by Baker, and it was 3 by the guy I just talked about, Rashad Higgins. Yeah. So I still say Baker is on the climb, and I think he's going to be a force. I need to see him play a playoff game, and it looks like we're going to get to watch that.
It's going to be, I mean, it could be real interesting over the next couple of years. We don't know how many years Big Ben has, but you still, Joe Burrow is there. You got Baker's going to be in his fourth or 5th year. You got Kyler's going to be in his 4th. Lamar's going to be in his 4th year. The AFC North, Skip's going to be very, very interesting over the next couple of years.
It sure is, which will be fun to watch.
Yep.
No mercy.
The Ravens topped the Browns 47-42 in a truly wild finish last night. Cleveland was down 14 points in the 4th quarter, but steamrolled back to take a 1-point lead. Meanwhile, Lamar Jackson had to leave the game with cramps, guys, for almost 2 whole drives. But when backup Trace McSorley went down, Lamar came back out of the locker room to throw the go-ahead touchdown on a 4th and 5 conversion right after the 2-minute warning. Baker Mayfield would then tie the game with a minute to go, but Justin Tucker kicked a 55-yard field goal with just 2 seconds remaining to give the Ravens the lead for good. Just seeing the highlights, such a good game. We are now joined by Fox Sports NFL analyst James Harrison. James, it has been too long. Great to have you back, but I got to ask you, how surprised were you that Lamar came back in and won the game in that fashion?
Thank you for having me back. Listen, I wasn't surprised at all, to be honest with you. I mean, that's what a leader does. He was cramped up. He needed to go in, get refueled, come back out. Even before he went in, he was already cooking with gas, most of the game. So for him to come out there and continue to do what he was already doing after he did what was necessary so his body could function right, no surprise to me.
James, I was surprised for the simple fact, if he had a series to warm up, he's coming straight in out the locker room on 4th and 5. It's do or die. He doesn't get this, the ball game's over. That's what's most surprising. Not that he got an opportunity, because once his body calmed down, once those cramps released, he was going to be fine. But to come in straight from the locker room, run to the field, it's 4th and 5. Okay, what do we got here? And they did him a favor. They blitzed him up the middle. They let him get to the edge. And so now he has a 2-way. Now you're at his mercy. Man, do I come up and take away because he can get the first down, or do I stay back? And they made a mistake. He thought he got caught in between. And what we say, James, he who hesitates is beat, and he hit Hollywood Brown. But I tell you what, he's feeling it in the morning, because I know you cramped before. It's almost like you played a game, because those muscles are contracted so hard for so long. You actually feel like you played a game, even if you go out early in the ball game from cramps. And so I was surprised, not that he came back, because you're absolutely right. That's what a leader does. That's why they believe they have something they call big trust. They trust him ultimately, 1,000%. But to come back in under those circumstances and perform like he did, whew, that was special.
But Shay, like you said, they did everything that was possible to help him, to be able to make that play. They gave him the opportunity to do what he does best, which is use his legs. So now they're in a situation like, do I come up and try and stop him? Is he going to run it, or is he going to throw it? And, you got guys that don't stick to their technique. You don't lock into the guy that you have. And, it becomes backyard football. A guy comes open, he sees him, and they're just trying to make a play, not really thinking. And, he does what he does best, using his legs and throwing it and using his arm at the same time.
James, I want to go deeper with you, as I did with Shannon to open the show, about cramping. Obviously, it was cold last night in Cleveland. I think the wind chill by the end of the game would have been sub 20 degrees. It's probably 28 degrees by the end of the game. I think it started at 34 degrees. So it was a cold night in Cleveland. My experience covering your game for many, many, many years is the colder it gets, the fewer cramps you see, because obviously you don't lose quite as much fluid when it gets that cold. Shannon says that he didn't drink much water, so he had trouble cramping even when it was cold. So here we have Lamar, and I want to show the first play that surprised me because this is with about 6.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. He takes off on a run, and he did what you cannot do as a running quarterback. He decided not to slide. This is where I thought he might have been hurt on this play because he takes a shot. If we could please see the takeoff and the run. Here he goes to his left, escapes the pocket, and he says, I think I'm going to try that. And it was a bad idea because he took a shot on the right side of his body on the right arm. And ESPN.com reported that he felt first cramping in his right arm. Well, that's not from dehydration. That could be from some kind of spinal shot where you got a stinger down your arm, right?
Yep.
Okay. Then later in the game, just maybe a minute later, he started feeling cramps in both legs. It was reported on ESPN.com.
That's when he gets rough.
Okay. Now we're to the. Is it because he hadn't had any water to drink? I don't know. How surprising is it that he was cramping in that much of a cold weather game?
To me, it's not a surprise because, as Shannon said, a lot of guys, you're still burning. You actually burn more energy and more calories in colder weather than you do in hot weather. You may sweat more in hot weather because your body's trying to cool itself off. That's why you will cramp faster in hot weather. But in cold weather, the thing that you don't do is drink water. In hot weather, you get so hot and you're tired. You're trying to drink water. You're trying to cool off. You're trying to do all that. It's cold. You're not realizing the amount of fluids that you're losing, just because it's not running down your arm now. So with him, with the excuse me, with it being cold and him not drinking water, it's very, very easy to cramp in winter weather.
And he's running around. Skip, you got to realize he's not like an offensive lineman.
Well, he'd already run for a Monday Night Football record, 124 yards. But we never saw him go down with the cramp because you usually see a guy when the calf locks up, you can't walk. You go down like you got shot, right? And usually you say, uh-oh, did he hurt his knee or his Achilles? No, it's just a cramp. And usually just a cramp is like, oh, thank God it's just a cramp.
And the thing is, James.
Well, you got to think about it. He was probably not locked up cramping, but he was cramping to where you could feel it coming. You twitching, you can still move. And what is it? They're up by 14 at that point. So I'm gonna run in here, try and get a quick IV. And all of a sudden, in the process of getting an IV, things turn around. So I got to go out here and be Superman.
And normally, once they get to those both legs, you're too far gone. You're gonna have to you're gonna have to get the IV because it's going up. You're gonna get both legs, and then it goes up to your back, and then all of a sudden you try to stand up, and wherever you move, something locks up differently. And that's what I was telling Skip. I was like, the thing is, what you don't realize when it's cold, your body is trying to keep you warm. So you're spending a lot of energy, and then on top of that, you're not drinking because you're like, "Cold man, I ain't even thirsty. I'm good. I'm good." But the next thing you know, you're like, uh-oh. And I was like, uh-oh, here it comes. And you know when it's coming, but probably when it gets to both legs, it's too late.
So he was cramping, but you couldn't see it even on the way to the locker room, even though he looked a little bit gimpy, but he wasn't
I understand, like some people, their cramps start in different areas. For me, my first cramp, when I yawn, it'll start literally in my tongue. And I'm like, oh, it's about to be bad.
A lot of people cramp in the middle of the night.
I get those.
Yeah, okay. And that's like you think you're going to die. Okay. So he goes to the locker room, and I know a lot of Twitter went wild with the notion of he needed a bathroom break.
Yeah.
I don't think he did. You don't think he did.
I don't either.
And in the end, he says, no, he was cramping because he needed to take IV, so you got to get stuck in your arm.
Right.
And you need to take a saline solution intravenously.
Correct.
And he said that took a little while. And then the trainer tried to re-stretch him out to try to get his legs to work. And he said, I'm watching the game on TV and I'm catching an attitude because he left when it was 34-20. And all of a sudden, you're behind.
And plus, the thing is, Skip, finding a vein when it's cold.
Yep.
All of a sudden, your vein,
and you're dehydrated.
And you're dehydrated. So that's another thing that you got. So you got to be careful. And it's not like we just turn the IV up full throttle so it gets in. You let it drip, 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 drip.
And he came back full throttle.
He did.
That's what's amazing to me because I was shocked that he came back in, and God bless Trace McSorley. I hope he's okay. But you can make a case that if Trace hadn't gotten his left leg caught up under him, and he had completed one big ball to Willie Snead that got them in position. So he did that kid's tough, man. He's mentally tough.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden it's 4th and 5. What do you do? Because Willie Snead is the emergency quarterback at that point. And Lamar says, no, I'm good.
Right.
You are? You're 100%. No, he's 1,000%.
Straight from the locker room to the field on 4th and 5.
Whew. Wow. And then he not only does he complete that pass after they let him break contain, they blitzed on the play, obviously, and the DBs freeze because he's a more dangerous runner than a thrower. And Hollywood, who dropped really 3 passes, breaks wide open deep, and he drops one into him, and he caught it.
I don't know how you feel about this, James, but if I'm in a situation like that, I'm not blitzing him. I'm going to make him complete the football. I'm going to make him throw into a zone, because if you blitz him up the middle and that end loses contain, which he did, this is what you get. Now you get your DBs put on an island. Do I stay plastered to my guy, or do I let him get to the first down?
Right.
And normally the coach would say, son, let him get the first down. At least we didn't give up the touchdown. We still get 4 more cracks to possibly turn them over. But once that guy got caught in between and he hesitated for just a second, I'm going to cut me. Like, no, I'm going to go. And Hollywood had already broke free of him then. But I would not have blitzed Lamar Jackson in that situation.
No.
Tom Brady,
No.
oh, yeah, I'm gonna dial him up, because I'm not worried about him getting outside like that. But Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, absolutely not.
Yeah, I think I would have I think I might have sent 3 on that with a spy, to be there just to roam around but sending everything right there. And like you said, right here, he loses contain. Guys are either like, am I going to run up, try and stop him? And then all of a sudden you got, that eye contact and, the communications between the receiver and the quarterback already unspoken. He goes through, makes a connection. Now you done strike it up the band.
James, when you played a mobile quarterback, and, obviously 3-4 is different, but you can't run past those guys. Once you get even, you got to flatten out, because if you run past him, he's going to jump out the window and he's gone.
So we were always there. Yeah, we were never allowed to actually go past the quarterback. Like, even if you had to spin back to get back to him, because once, you either got inside of him or far past him, you already know what he was going to do. It was off to the races. And that's what we didn't want to have. Most quarterbacks that are real good running quarterbacks aren't really as great with their arms, because they don't have to be. They're used to using their legs to get out of situations. Where a quarterback that's used to using his arm, he's just going to try and fidget around the pocket, get a different area so he could try and, toss it out.
So to sum this up, was this the game of the year? I'm going to go one step farther. I thought it was the game of the decade, regular season game of the decade. I can't remember one this decade any better than that in the regular season, because it was fairy tale. It was just like you couldn't make it up.
Hey, that was a movie right there.
It was a movie.
You're talking about 4th and 5. I've been out for the last 2 drives. I cramped up my whole,
Right.
He should have made it way worse than what it was. He should have did the Paul Pierce and got, carried off, on a stretcher or something, and then came back. When he came back, it would have lived forever. They still talk about Paul Pierce. Come on now.
Hold up, you mean to tell me this game was better than the Falcons Cowboys?
Yeah. Wait, that was just crazy. That was just like psycho crazy at the end of the game. It cannot happen. That was a miracle, right?
Lamar should have came back on a stretcher.
No question.
No, he didn't have time for that. He had to get back out there and make things happen.
Yeah, but wait a second. Paul Pierce wasn't really hurt.
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
He wasn't.
Shannon, I saw what you posted on social media, too. You're making fun of the guy. Come on. He had cramps. He had cramps.
No mercy.
The Steelers have now dropped 2 games in a row after starting the season on an 11-game winning streak, while Pittsburgh has clinched a playoff spot and still holds the number 2 seed. Ben Roethlisberger is holding himself accountable for his role in the team's recent skid, telling reporters, quote, "I'm not playing good enough football for us to win. If I don't play good enough football, I need to hang it up. I'm going to do everything I can to get back on track." Big Ben had been playing well after missing most of last season with an elbow injury, but has thrown 3 interceptions in the past 2 losses after only throwing 3 total in the previous 11 games. So something's going on there. Good thing for us, though, James Harrison is still with us. He obviously played in Pittsburgh for years. So can the Steelers turn this thing around?
I think the Steelers can turn this around. What they need to do, first and foremost, is they need to stop turning the ball over as an offense. After that, you got to catch the ball. When you get the ball in your hands, just catch the ball. I think they're number 1 in drops. And then you have to run the ball. Over the course of the last 2 games, 34 yards a game, which is dead last in the league. When you add the drops, you get the points. That's only 16 points a game, 275 yards a game, and 28% on third downs over the course of the last 2 games. So the offense has to step it up. Like Ben said, it has to start. It has to start with him because he's the person that has the ball in his hand the most. And him, saying what he said, I know Ben. That's motivation to him. So now they're going to go out there and they're going to say Ben's, he's washed up, he's used up. He's going to see that, and that's going to motivate him to get better. And then you're going to have the people that's going to say, you know what, he's not washed up, he's great. He's going to see that too, and that's going to motivate him too. I've been around Ben long enough to know how he worked this. It's going to work out. But they need to get back to running the ball, catch the ball, and the offense will be okay. The defense is going to do what the defense do.
When I look at the Steelers, and for the longest time, and people were, man, you just saying that, you're a hater. You play with the Ravens, so you hate the Steelers. But when I looked at them closely, I saw a flawed team. I saw a team, James, that could never run the football. They make no commitment to run the football. Yeah, they get 100 yards here or there with Connor, and they can average over 100 when Connor missed James Conner missed time with COVID. And Snell, he's more of a change of pace than an every down back. But when you go your last 8 games and you average 59 yards of rushing per game and you average 3 yards a carry per game, you're not going to win. They're asking Ben. Ben has thrown the ball 47 times on average the last 5 games. When you throw that many passes, and really none of them are down the field, they're all nickel and dime stuff. At some point in time, it catches up with you. I agree with you, James. They drop too many passes. If I'm Ben, I need to have a conversation with every last one of you, because Eric Ebron and Deontay Johnson and Jude, all you got, bruh, y'all killing me. Y'all killing my completion percentage, my QBR, my quarterback rating, whatever goes along with quarterback and throwing the ball, y'all are killing me. Can you just hold on to the ball? But when you don't make the commitment to run the football, and this is not your mom and pop Steelers. The days of Franco and the Bus and Rocket Fire running the football, James, that's not y'all anymore. Y'all throw the football with Big Ben. You still play defense, but you can't keep losing your best players. Bud Dupree going out, hurt. Devin Bush going out, hurt. And then you lost Bush's backup. He's gone out.
Spillane.
And Joe Hayden missed the last game with a concussion. You can't, I don't care, next man up. That sounds good in theory, but there's a reason that man was down, because the guy that was in front of him was better. And you can't keep going next man up, because you're going to run out of good men to put up. So the Steelers were a flawed team for the longest time. I thought, watching them play, I thought they should be more 7-4 as opposed to 11-2, Skip, when they were 11-0 at the point in time. But this is not an accident. This is more who they are, James. And they got their hands full. The Colts is not an easy victory. And the Browns, for the longest time, they've heard the Steelers say, y'all little bruh, we big bruh. They want to change that.
So that sounds
Everybody
like
want to change
Steeler
something. That's
hate
not going to
to
happen, though. Yeah, that is. That's a lot of hate. That's still going back to the time when, he was getting bopped around over there in Baltimore. And all that,
Yep. So I hear you. They can't run it. They can't catch it. But I don't care what you say. I'm with James on this. They can turn it around because they can play defense. I got you. They lost he's a terrific player, Bud Dupree.
Yeah.
And listen, Devin Bush was rising into one of the top linebackers in the league. But they're still, after all that, they're still number 1 in points allowed. Okay? They're number 1 in sacks. And they're tied for first in takeaways. Okay, those will work.
Yes.
Right? So I believe they can turn it around just because of what we talked about Baltimore has in the locker room. They do have tradition.
Yes.
James knows that tradition as well as anybody. I just feel like down the stretch, they got at Cincinnati. I think they can win that. My Cowboys won at Cincinnati, so surely Pittsburgh can.
Yeah.
Then, as you said, Colts are a dangerous game. I don't know what Phillip Rivers, which one you'll get, but if you get the good one, he'll be an all-day sucker, right?
Yep.
And then at Cleveland is going to be a hard game to win to close it out. Big division rivalry, obviously. But I still say they're 11-2. I still think they could win 2 out of those 3. 13-3. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Are they better right now than Kansas City? No, they are not. And it boils down to they're going to go as far as Ben will carry them. Well, I like what James is saying, because when I watch Ben, I can't even recognize him anymore because it's like he's got no arm strength left. I don't know if it's from the surgery or what, but he just
surgery and age
flips it. But I mean, the age doesn't take away your arm strength. I mean, Brady's still got a big arm, but it's like he just flips it. He just flicks it. Is that all he's got?
Yeah, that's right. But Skip, he did have elbow surgery.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. You're working on tendons and all that, and that's something that,
I agree.
Really, I don't think you can strengthen too much, especially as you get older over time. I think it's a situation where, I think Ben knows he only has, a few more years left. And he's trying to do the best he can with it. And right now, with them having him throwing the ball almost 50 times a game, it's not, it's not contributing to helping it. And, when you can't run the ball, you got to do the little dink and dunk passes that's run alternative plays. So, they're going to have to, change up some things that they're doing on the offense and fix the things that they're not doing right. And, I think they can get back to winning games and get back to, how they were playing before. Because, like you said, they have a defense that is, ranked 1 or 2 in, almost every category.
Yep. So, James, go one other direction with us. Before road games, Juju Smith-Schuster has made a new habit of making a video while dancing on the opponent's, the home team's logo in the middle of the field. And it was reported that Josh Allen made that a big part of his pregame pep talk to his team in Buffalo the other night before that game. So is this a good idea or a bad idea by our man Juju?
For me, even going back to, all the way to the Cowher era, it was always do not give them bulletin board material. Don't give them nothing to put up there that's going to motivate them to want to do or be anything or come out here and put any more effort into what they're trying to do. And when you do something like that, you're doing exactly the opposite of what I've always been told. Like, you do not want to go out there and give them the gas unless you sitting here with the fire extinguisher to pull it out. In the last 2 games, it seems like the fire extinguisher has been broke.
You were, that was different. We look at any sign of you standing on our logo, if we come out, you in our end zone and you're not supposed to be there, you know where you're supposed to be. Because you come out there on the field, James, you know what team's supposed to be in what end zone.
If you on my side of the 50, I'm moving you to your side of the 50. It's nothing. Yes.
You got the 50-yard line, not the 49, not the 48, right. And do not be standing in the logo. You know good and well you don't stand in the logo until the coin toss. So any disrespect was met with disrespect. I don't know where they get this. Is new age. James, they do anything now. They put it on TikTok, they put it on IG and Twitch and Twitter and all that stuff. But man, in the 2000s and back 90s when I came in, man, that would have caused the fight.
Oh, yeah, it would have been a fight. It ran warm-up. It would have been a fight for sure.
So Juju is promoting himself at the expense of his football team.
Basically.
Right?
Basically.
Whew.
Listen, we used to play Baltimore, man, and James Ferrier. So we would always warm up, with the linebackers. So we'd warm up on our side with Ray and all them. And Ferrier is talking cash money to these dudes. I mean, calling them everything in a book. And I'm like, Potsy, man, leave them boys alone, man. Don't get them no more gas, man. They gonna go out there and try and do something crazy, man. I'm like, leave them alone.
But I don't know what Juju thinking. I mean, okay, it was cool, it was funny. Okay, you want to do that? But man, okay, you playing with Juju. I'm telling you, playing with fire.
What's the most infamous moment in the history of the Dallas Cowboys? It was Terrell Owens standing on the star after he scored a touchdown, right?
Yep.
And who attacked him? Just about the whole Cowboy team tried to knock him off the star.
Juju tried to do that this year.
He did.
He was going to go, but they got him. I think Antoine Wood.
I believe so.
Bro, you're not going to do that.
Yep.
Still slapped them Cowboys, though.
We're just going to throw that in there really quickly?
I'm just saying right now, the Cowboys, it's like, that's a toss-up. You know what I'm saying? That's a toss-up right now.
No mercy.
Well, this week, Derek Carr and the Raiders are fighting for a shot at the playoffs, but rookie sensation Justin Herbert and the Chargers are looking for the upset. Thursday Night Football, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on Fox. Also available on NFL Network and streaming on Prime Video. Well, after what we saw last night, I just want to watch more football. So looking forward to that one. Guys, because Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield, the show they put on last night, it was wild in the Ravens-Browns Monday night matchup. The first overall pick and the 32nd overall pick from the 2018 first-round draft class combined for 6 total touchdowns, with Lamar dominating on the ground early and Baker showing off his trademark accuracy during Cleveland's fourth quarter comeback. So, Shannon, I start with you. Who will have the better career, Baker or Lamar?
Skip, if you look at where they are currently, Kurt Warner, Dan Marino, Lamar, Mahomes, they're basically right around there, 27-6, 27-7, which is unbelievable. All of these guys had done what? In their first or second year, won an MVP. Lamar has an MVP. Skip, and I said this earlier in the opening. If he can get his passing to 67, Skip, I'm not talking about 80 because it'd be unfair. With his legs, if he can get 80% better as a passer. But if he can just get 60%, 70% better as a passer, Skip, he's going to be like Mahomes. He'll be in the MVP discussion every single year. Because the difference is Baltimore can't win a game if he doesn't play great. Skip, and I'm not talking about play well. No, he has to play well in order for them to win. We've seen Cleveland win a game when Baker has 70, 80 yards passing. The running game is what sets them up. Lamar Jackson, if he doesn't play well, they don't win. They built this entire thing. This fortress is built on Lamar Jackson's foundation. So I'm going to say Lamar because I believe he can continue to get better, and I believe he'll continue to work. He strikes me as a guy that wants to get better at throwing the football. He knows he has dynamic legs. But if he can just get 60% passing to the legs ratio, Skip, he's a special talent. I'm gonna take Lamar because I believe he will improve as a passer, and I would not be surprised if he doesn't get another MVP on his resume before it's all said and done.
He well might. This is probably my pride talking. It might even be my Oklahoma Sooner talking. But I was a Baker fan before the draft. I told you I would pick him first overall, and I'm going to stand by that. And I'm going to say over the long haul, he will have a little better career than another young man I've come to love in Lamar. I did not see Lamar coming in pro football. I thought he could be pretty good. I didn't think he could win an MVP.
Right.
But I don't know many people who saw Lamar coming because the whole league looked the other way.
Correct.
They all had chances until Ozzie took him at the bottom of the round.
Yep, traded back into the first round to get him.
Yep. So, in the end, in this league, you win throwing the football. Even though Lamar he's shattered that mold. Baker is a better thrower of the football, and I think he always will be a little to a lot better thrower of the football than Lamar.
I agree.
Lamar astounded me last year with his dart throwing because he was throwing darts the whole year.
Yeah.
And again, when you can run the way he runs, it just opens everything up.
Yes.
It's so hard to defend. He is so explosively quick and fast, both. When you have that combination. He's a little beyond our man Michael Vick.
You saw that first touchdown run when they lagged it, he went up the middle. He in the end zone, the guy's diving his leg, he's standing in the end zone.
I mean, it's absurd how fast he is. He's a touch faster than Michael Vick. Michael in the open field, we're talking about the Michael Vick experience in Atlanta. It's something I would have paid to watch every Sunday.
Yeah, well, they got Lamar Willis in Baltimore, Skip.
Yeah, he is just something where he's so explosive. He might not be able to make you miss quite like Vic did.
No.
But his change of direction, as they say, you put that foot in the ground.
Yeah.
When he puts his foot in the ground, it's so subtle and effortless. The shift of direction, it just leaves you tackling air. So I get that. But you got to stay healthy.
Yes.
And I thought he took a shot last night with 6.5 minutes left he did not need to take.
Correct.
I mean, in the third quarter. But, I was afraid that was leading to why he went to the locker room, but apparently that wasn't it. But the point is, if he can stay healthy and you can continue just to gash people for 100-plus yards, then all those little play action slant, they're just open everywhere.
Yes.
It's just like you can't guard them.
Right.
Okay? So he has to hit the slants.
Right.
He has to hit the curls. He has to hit all the underneath stuff. And occasionally he needs to break the pocket and hit Hollywood, who gets behind the secondary.
And Skip, the thing is that's going to be work in his favor. He's going to be throwing against single coverage because you got to get the safety down in the box to deal with that run game.
Agreed.
You got to.
Okay? So what have we seen from Baker? He's gone through head coach after coach, coordinator after coordinator, and finally life has quietly stabilized for him over the last 7 games. And again, very quietly, Pro Football Focus ranks him the 3rd graded quarterback. He's graded 3rd best in the league over the last 7 games. Okay, that'll work.
Yes.
Is it enough body of work to say, wow, he's a top 10? I think he's right there about 10th in the league right now, because he's starting to play the way Baker Mayfield played at Oklahoma. He's playing with that hot doggy arrogance, and I don't always love it. I don't love the drum major running after touchdown passes. I don't love sliding into the end zone like I'm too cool, right?
Yeah.
He's got hot dog in him. He's constantly chattering with the opposition, but he's starting to back it up. And the hot doggy arrogance fuels him like nothing else. That's what he was at Oklahoma. You remember all the stuff he got into it with the Kansas Jayhawks and the pregame handshake, because they wouldn't shake his hand.
He hit the guy from Texas, TCU, hit him in the head with the football.
Because they had the audacity to run along the back line of the end zone while Baker and company were warming up on that end of the field. So he just drills the kid right in the head. That's Baker.
Right.
Okay, so you got to accept the whole package, and I always have, because that's his rocket fuel. Well, the rocket fuel really worked last night. And you can't tell me that after Lamar scored and fired a football and hit a sign in the dog pound into the stadium and the ball came right back to him, then Baker scored and he did the same thing and tried to get the ball to come back, but it wouldn't come back to him.
Right.
But that was a touche to you, Lamar, and obviously same draft class. So it's like, can you top this? Well, I can top that.
Skip, they're tied together. Josh Allen, and Baker all in that same draft class, and so this is what you get.
There was a Darnold in there, and there was a Rosen. Okay, all right. So in this case, I still say the ability to throw the football on the move and from the pocket will give Baker a slight edge going forward. And I say now that his life is stabilized without Odell, and again, no knock on Odell, he's great, but he was the worst thing that ever happened to Baker at that point in his life, because he was entering his 2nd year and he was only a half-year starter the first year as a rookie. So he's still getting his feet wet, and he's trying to find Odell and force-feed him the football, along with Jarvis. So he had co-number ones, and there are just too many weapons, and it destroyed him. He got hesitant with the football. He got brain-locked in the pocket, and last year was a disaster for Baker Mayfield.
Odell probably should go to a team with a veteran quarterback and get back, because it's been a while. I mean, you look at the last 2 years, he was injured in New York. His first year in Cleveland, he was injured. This year, he's injured. So it's been a while since we've seen the Odell that we know that Odell to be. So he probably needs to move on, find a guy with a veteran quarterback that knows how to get, because he just wants to get back to playing good football. And he's had a rash of injuries, from the sports hernia to the ankle. He broke his ankle a couple of years ago, now the ACL. So he has a lot to prove. Yeah,
he does. So Baker is quietly taking off over the last 7 games, 13 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. All of a sudden, Rashard Higgins has come back into the rotation as really a primary receiver. He's caught the most yards catching over the last 7 games, a little above Jarvis. So now it's up to Baker to continue to live up beyond the progressive commercials. And I'm going to say it one more time. I just haven't loved all the progressive commercials. And now he's making more and more. There are new ones, it seems like, every game. Last night, the most of the game was progressive commercials. Well, it just paints that target bigger and bigger on your back, and he still hasn't proved. He has not won an MVP. He hasn't been a Pro Bowl quarterback. He hasn't played in a playoff game yet. So now you've got way more to prove, but I think he's living up to his commercials.
Well, they did a good job, Skip, because they fell behind. They had 28 attempts for 138 yards. That's almost 5 yards a carry for a rushing touchdown. Because I was like, Is anybody going to throw the ball for a touchdown? Because it seemed like everybody for the first 9 touchdowns were all rushing touchdowns.
Yep.
And they had to go back. I saw the caption on the screen of like, you got to go back to 1922.
Yep.
But for Baker to do what they did when he fell behind and basically took the running game with Chubb and Hunt, they ran it just a little bit to sprinkle it in there, but basically it was Baker throwing the football. I thought Baker showed really well for himself. But like I said, all Lamar has to do is improve, get to 65, 70%.
Yep, he does.
If he's gonna be the deal with cut them legs.
Okay, but going forward, now Baker's got a quality young coach who gets it and is putting him in situations to use his legs, to scramble, roll out, buy time. And Kevin Stefanski knows, because he's West Coast, he's off that tree.
Mm-hmm.
So now Baker has found his bliss. This is where he belongs. And all of a sudden, I think going forward, they've built it right because most of the year, their offensive line has been graded like 1 or 2 in the league. So you got the offensive line.
Yeah, they got Conklin from Tennessee, Wills from Alabama, the 10th pick in the draft, they're Treader.
Yeah.
So they're good, Skip. For me, any relationship I be in, if you don't love me like Harbaugh loves Lamar, I don't want it.
That's
you
true.
see, he called a timeout because they thought they had him, and Harbaugh called a timeout, and Lamar's like, he comes over to the sideline and he hugs him. He's like, hey, my bad, bro. I agree. That's what you want, Skip. That's when you know. See, Wynn's like, hold on, why can't my coach believe in me and love me like Harbaugh loves Lamar?
No, you're right. That's gold, man.
That's it.
You can't find it.
Every quarterback, every player wants his coach to have that kind of respect and admiration for him like John Harbaugh has for Lamar Jackson.
Right. And remember what happened to Baker right out of the box. They're on Hard Knocks. And at the end of Hard Knocks, Hugh Jackson calls Baker in. Remember this with Drew Stanton?
Yeah.
And announced to Baker, this is on Hard Knocks that they used it. Hey, you have won the backup quarterback job. I've won the backup? I was the first pick in the draft, right?
And you called me here to tell me that?
Yeah.
It was almost like it embarrassed him.
It embarrassed him.
You could have just said, okay, I'm the number 2 quarterback. But that's something you don't need to make an announcement about.
Nope. And by the way, we did have Hugh on the show after that, and he did acknowledge that was a mistake.
Yes.
That was not right. For
Sometimes, Skip, you get caught up in when you do, this is a reality show.
Yep.
And sometimes you do things and, you do things for effect and, but you have to understand that's a human being you're dealing with. Now, although the fans and the people that's watching is going to love that, you have to understand how is this person going to take it?
Yeah.
And so that's something I think Hugh, if he had it to do over again, obviously he wouldn't play it like that. But, Hard Knocks is reality. It's reality. It's supposed to show you what it's like in training camp, the decision that coaches and general managers and people have to make in order to put a team together. But I just think that was the wrong time to, to have it.
So remember, the GM who picked Baker, John Dorsey, is no longer there, which is usually not a good thing.
Right.
While Lamar has the stability of same staff. I know Ozzie sort of graduated.
Yeah, he graduated. He got a little plus job. I know you got that plus job. But, they still got Dick Cash. They still got DeCosta.
And as you said, they got John Harbaugh hugging Lamar. So that works.
Yes.
Seriously, Shannon, it always comes back to a relationship.
It is.
For you. It always does. It always does.
I'm a big relationship guy. I don't know if people know that about me. Yeah, I really am. I like stability.
You should give out advice.
I don't roll your eyes. I see you rolling your eyes.
Stability? You can see me over here?
I love stability. Wow.
No mercy.
Well, we've been talking about it throughout the show. This game had great quarterback play all around, but it was actually a kicker who made the final difference last night with just seconds left on the clock last night. Ravens kicker Justin Tucker nailed a 55-yard field goal that sealed the victory for Baltimore. Oh, Skip, I'm intrigued here because I know you've always said you hate field goal kicking in football. So what was your reaction to the game-winning kick last night?
Okay, Mr. Sharpe, allow me to restate my position on this that I've held for 30 years. I hate field goal kicking because I hate the notion that a game between warriors who fight it out for almost 60 minutes comes down to this little guy running onto the field who's usually a soccer player by background.
And that's the only position he's ever played.
Can't play any position in your sport, does not belong in your sport except to kick the ball off the ground up through gimmicky uprights, which has always been weird to me. It's silly. It's beneath the dignity of football. And I've always said just eliminate place kicking, extra points and field goals, and just play it out. Now, it wouldn't have worked last night because Lamar would have had to go down and score it in the end zone, get the ball in the end zone.
Right.
I'm fine with punting. And by the way, punters are always more athletic and bigger men than field goal kickers because they have to catch the ball, and then they often have to go
Sometimes they throw a pass, sometimes they take off running with it.
So they've always been much better athletes. They're always very good golfers.
Yeah.
But the place kickers, eliminate this except for because, look, it's weighted too much on the scoreboard. Their value is way too high because they win and lose games. And by the way, we haven't talked about this, but Cody Parkey last night, he missed a 39-yard field goal, very makeable, and then missed an extra point.
Yeah.
Okay, there's 4 points. Did that not impact the game in a negative way for the Cleveland Browns? You can say that he lost the game for the Cleveland Browns, that ultimately Justin Tucker won.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to explain to you why, because I can't change this rule, why I would pay Justin Tucker quarterback money. And I'm being straight with you. Justin Tucker is worth $30 to $35 million. If I were an owner of a football team, I would say, I want that guy. I'm going to go get him, and I'm going to pay him quarterback money because he wins and loses a lot of games.
Yes.
Well, how much magnitude does he have? How much impact on the scoreboard or my ultimate record? I told you last year, Brett Maher, Brett the Fret, was the worst kicker in pro football. And my Cowboys went 8-8 with him and could have gone 10-6 if he had made some of those kicks. Well, it ends up impacting your record. Does Jerry Jones think that? No, because they always treat them like they're dime a dozen.
Yeah, and that's what happened because Dan Bailey. Remember, he had Dan Bailey, who cost Minnesota 10 points on Sunday.
And you can argue he lost them a road game at Tampa that the team played well enough to win.
Correct.
So he's got to fly back on the team plane. You've been there before. And you're looking sideways, side-eyed at this little guy who doesn't even belong in a football game, and he just lost or won you the game.
Because you look it up, Skip, because you see the things they do in practice. They can kick the ball from 50 yards out and put it in a trash can. But you mean to tell me you couldn't kick it 30 yards through that big old...
No, because they choke. And listen, once they go south psychologically, they just lose it.
It's hard to overcome that.
Okay, so here's Justin Tucker. He went undrafted out of Texas. Undrafted? And he's a smallish man by football standards, right?
Yep.
He's got the best leg in the history of the game, to me, on lift. I've never seen anybody get the ball up as fast as Justin Tucker does. He's made from 50-plus yards, 42 of 49 field goals. That's gold.
Yeah.
That's a big part of what the Ravens do.
Skip, in his rookie year, if I'm not mistaken, he kicked the game winner in Denver.
He did. No, he did.
As a rookie, undrafted rookie. That's what he did.
Okay, so the only owner who ever agreed with me on this principle was Al Davis, late great Al Davis. I was close to him, but he drafted Sebastian Janikowski with the 17th overall pick and continued to pay him high money for a kicker. Well, did he pay off? Yeah, he won a lot of games, had a huge leg, but I don't think he had the leg quite that this man does.
He might have had a stronger leg, but he didn't have the accuracy.
No, and he didn't have the lift. Justin Tucker gets it up so fast that it's impossible to block it.
That's why I was surprised, Skip, that they blocked his PAT.
Yeah,
because they did. But I think he knew he had a low trajectory on that because the guy really didn't jump.
He missed it.
But Skip, for me, when they're lining up, I was like, Tuck, you got 55 in you? And before I could basically, as I'm pressing send, the ball is sailing through the upright. Yep, he got it. Skip, there's a reason why he's the highest paid kicker. There's a reason why in 4 of his 8 years, he's been the all-pro kicker on the NFL all-pro team. There's a reason why. He might be it again this year, Skip. So when you look at it, and you look at what 71% of his field goals from 50-plus. 71%. Skip, hell, you hope he makes 71% of all his field goals. Forget 50-plus.
In this day, PATs. Yeah. Some guys can't make PATs.
He's special. And I played, I had Jason Elam in Denver. Played with Matt Stover in Baltimore, who kicked for them in Cleveland and came and ended up playing about 18, 19 years. So I've been blessed. But, Skip, this kid here to be able to kick like he can kick in the cold with that kind of distance, with that kind of accuracy. Because like I said, Skip, when you play in the Northeast, you play like where they play, the elements are going to come into it. You're going to get rain, sleet, wind, snow. And he's kicking 8 home games in Baltimore, road game in Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Cincinnati. Woo.
They said the winds were gusting last night to 18 miles an hour with wind chill around 20.
And he kicked up, Skip, that ball would have been good from 60.
I would say.
He got it up in a hurry, and it was.
Okay, so help me out. Where would the Patriot dynasty be without Adam Vinatieri?
No, it would be no dynasty.
Well, there would be. And again, Brady had to put him in position, but he had to nail him. And again, the choke factor is extreme.
Remember Buffalo? The first Super Bowl against the Giants, Skip?
Ooh. Well, it's wide. Which was it? I don't have to write it
right.
yet, but it lives in infamy.
Yes.
Yep.
And you know what, Skip? We don't really like field goal kickers until we need them. Hey, boy, good job. Woo, that was a good job. And then when he miss it, man, you bum. I can't believe you did that. That's all you got to do is kick field goal, bro.
Yeah.
You ain't even got no real job. You don't have to practice. You don't come to no meetings. We're in meetings all day, Skip. We come out, they sitting in the locker room. They playing cards with each other. They playing gin. They shooting basketball. They shooting pool. Playing air hockey. I'm like, bro, they're getting law degrees. Because some of them go to school, Skip, get law degrees. And I'm like, bro, you get a degree, I don't care what you do, but you better make this field good. It's 30-yarder.
Okay, so that was the old black and blue division type game that you lived with.
AFC, yeah.
Okay.
It used to be the AFC Central.
It used to be, but now it's more the North. And last night, it was hellacious physical out there. There was a lot of pad popping going on. And again, Cody Parkey doesn't play football. And in the end, Justin Tucker doesn't really play football.
Right.
But they decided the game that Ultimate Warriors battled it out for nearly 60 minutes, and then that's it.
The old Browns beat the new Browns.
Yeah.
The Ravens used to be there. And so Skip, there's really no love lost. I felt bad for Art because once he moved the team, he never went back.
Nope.
They never forgave him. Art Modell should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame because of his impact, his contributor. Skip, the Monday Night Football we see was because of Art's vision. And what he meant to the NFL, he deserves to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But they never forgave him. I mean, the Colts moved, the Rams. How many times have the Rams moved? How many times have the Raiders moved, Skip? The Titans, the Titans have moved. They used to be the Houston Oilers.
Yep.
They moved from Memphis and now they're in Nashville. But poor Art, he's the only one that they just they never forgave him.
So to sum up my take on field goal kicking, it's wildly exciting for the wrong reasons to me because they do gag.
Right.
They do miss. Oh, my God, did you see what happened? And yet, if you removed it from the game, then you'd have a choice. Every time you'd have to go for it on fourth down. You just have to keep going for it all the way home.
Right.
Well, that could be exciting for the right reasons to me.
Yeah. Skip, and the thing, look, we love them for two reasons. When they make the field goal, Skip, and they get the onside. And when you hit that onside like your guy did in Dallas, or it used to be everybody was trying to get that high bounce. But Tuck, he's as good as they have in the NFL.
Never seen anything quite like him before.
Not with that kind of distance and that kind of accuracy. I mean, Prater might have a comparable leg in Detroit. He might have a comparable leg, Skip, but I don't think he has the accuracy that Tuck has.
It's unbelievable. They're lucky to have him.
Yes.
It would be way too stressful for me. I would not be a good kicker. Way too much pressure in that sense.
No mercy.
It's the 2020 TSL Football Championship as the Aviators take on the Generals for the title. How about that, guys? Tonight, 7 Eastern, only on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Well, yesterday, Doug Peterson announced that Jalen Hurts would start for the Eagles this weekend against the Cardinals, and it's not surprising after Sunday's win over the Red Hot Saints. In looking at the game, Pro Football Focus showed that while the passing game numbers weren't extraordinary, Hurts' obvious impact on the run game bolstered a stagnant offense, and playing with the lead then gave the defense a big advantage. So, Shannon, did the Eagles just happen to play better, or was Hurts the reason why the team played better?
Well, I think anytime the quarterback gets a lot of the credit when things go well, and he gets a lot of the blame when things go bad, Skip, but I thought he made plays. But the defense played better. Pro Football Focus, Skip, they mentioned in this article, it was the first game this year in which the Eagles receivers didn't record a drop. Let that sink in for a second, Skip. They've played how many games? 11, 12 games now? And this was the first game they didn't have a drop. The defense was unbelievable. The way they got after Taysom Hill, sacking him, forcing fumbles, neutralizing the run game. Alshon made a play. Skip, I can't remember the last time Alshon made a play was in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And he made plays. So, look, quarterbacks do give you a spark. There's something about having a guy on the field that you feel, you know what, we can't get beat today. When 7 was under center, Elway, John, y'all not beating us. And maybe Jalen gives them that belief. Maybe, Skip, they've been struggling for so long and things have been going so bad with Wentz for such a long time. Just a new glimpse of light was what they needed. But, Skip, we haven't seen the defense play like what they played against the Saints, who was the hottest team in football. We hadn't seen that defense play like that. We haven't seen Dougie P call a game like he called. So if you want to say Hurts was the reason why, okay, fine. But a lot of things were the best we had seen from the Eagles in a very long time.
Agreed. So I know you still love your man Carson Wentz. I've always loved my man Jalen Hurts. I say it was absolutely no coincidence that Philly suddenly played its best overall game of the year because of the presence of Jalen Hurts. They didn't drop a ball because he was under center in the huddle on the sideline. The defense rose to the occasion just because they knew psychologically, he's in control and in command. We can see it in his body language. They knew it from play number 1. He had this. You can just see it and feel it. He has natural-born leadership.
Yeah, he's a leader.
Miles Sanders sat up there after the game and just said, hey, he said natural leader. He's just a natural leader. Just check the tape. He just has always made plays with legs and arm. He did it at Alabama, more with legs than arm. But then at Oklahoma, he used both. 52 touchdowns a year ago at Oklahoma. Whew. And a bunch of them, 32 of them through the air, but 20 of them came with his legs.
That was more than Kyler, right?
Yep. He outdid Kyler, those 3 quarterbacks in a row, Baker, Kyler. They kept putting up a little better numbers each time. That may have a lot to do with Lincoln Riley, but his finished product coming out of college was this young man, Jalen Hurts. His father was his high school coach. He's a coach's son who thinks like a coach on the field. You could just see from the first play, he was not afraid of the New Orleans Saints. They came in the #1 defense, #1 sacks over the last month. They're like a force of nature, and I thought it was the worst place you could throw a kid into that fire for a bad football team that was really struggling, that had lost its last 4 against a team that had won its last 9 games, and he slowly but surely just took the game over. I'm not saying he has Carson Wentz's arm, because he does not. He is not 6'5", 240 pounds.
Right.
He's 6'2", 225, but he is put together. He is weight room strong, and he is mentally strong.
Well, Skip, sometimes what you need, you don't need all those physical attributes are great to have. But if you got teammates that believe in you, that's what you need. And you look at the way they played, Skip, every mistake that New Orleans made, Philly made them play. Quan Alexander goes back during a handoff. Miles Sanders hit his head on the goalpost. Marshawn Lattimore.
82 yards.
Marshawn Lattimore he has one-on-one coverage with Alshon. Why would you be on top of Alshon when all he catches, Skip, is 50-50 ball back shoulders? That's his play. So you know that. So you guess what? You're going to play out of position. You're going to be on top of me, thinking I'm going to go deep when Alshon can't outrun me?
So Alshon makes that play when, for Carson, I think he lost some faith in Carson, and maybe subliminally he doesn't believe he can make that catch.
What was that? The other night, I think, was the Monday night game, Skip. We saw Carson hit him on the back shoulder, and he dropped it.
He did. They dropped a bunch of balls. They did not help Carson at all. But in impact, to me, Jalen Hurts is Tebow-esque. But I don't want you to compare Tebow to Jalen Hurts, because they're very different packages. I'm talking about in will, in force of personality. It's equal impact, because Jalen does it. He doesn't wear his emotions on his sleeve. He's a very quiet leader, but he has strength in the huddle that they gravitate to. And again, with Tebow, I think they all thought he was a little wacky, but he's like magic.
Right.
Oh, in the last 2 minutes, he's just going to take every game over in 2011. Right. This guy takes the game over from the start and just keeps on keeping on making plays. Big plays, 3rd down, 4th down plays, as you saw. The escape from the end zone the other day on 2nd 11 from the 3. and he goes 13 yards and gets them out of jail. That's Jalen Hurts.
Right.
That's the guy I came to love in college.
And Skip, but Pro Football Focus said he had the second worst passing grade by an Eagle quarterback this season.
Okay, that's why I said it's kind of Tebow-esque, because he's not a great thrower of the football, but he's an effective thrower of the football. And he made the throw to Rager, and he made the throw to Alshon that won the game.
But Skip, even though there were a lot of incompletions, I don't remember seeing him put the ball in harm's way.
He did
where
not.
You thought the Saints might get a pick.
Nope.
He made the one mistake.
Made one mistake later. You just got to protect it when they're going to punch it out. And he was just trying to kill the clock at that point. And if you take that away, he played a clean football game.
I agree.
So in the end, I think a rising tide of Jalen Hurts has lifted all boats in Philadelphia.
No mercy.
Like most of us, LeBron was enthralled by last night's Ravens-Browns game. The King let his Ohio roots show as he tweeted, "Hell yeah," during Cleveland's fourth quarter comeback attempt. We all know LeBron is a Cowboys fan. So, Skip, what was your reaction to this tweet from the King?
Again. Yeah. LeBron James, ultimate front runner. I thought he was a lifelong Dallas Cowboy fan until they stink, and then he's off that bandwagon. And he's on to a new bandwagon, the Arizona Cardinals. That's his Madden team. That's all I hear about for a while until Arizona loses 4 out of 5, and he's off that bandwagon. And last night, he leaps on to drive the Cleveland bandwagon, the team from his home area. Once upon a time, he wore a Cowboy jersey on the field before a Cowboys-Browns game in Cleveland. Are you kidding me? Ultimate bandwagon jumper, like somebody I work with every day on this show.
Well, if he wants to, if he can just go ahead and get with my homeboy, he'd be straight for the next 10.
Oh,
but Skip, I mean, look, Cleveland is his hometown team. They were doing well. Yeah,
really?
He
He's
was
a Cowboy fan for life. That's what he says. He's the ultimate fickle Cowboy fan.
Exactly. Most of y'all, and y'all losing a bunch. Y'all losing a bunch of Cowboy fans too.
Maybe.
But Skip, I mean, look, there was a lot to be excited about. I mean, the Browns had come back. Baker was playing well. The team was playing well. He's like, hell yeah.
Hell yeah, Browns. I'm here for you.
And then we had that laugh with like, what a game. We got that dub though.
This is a man who once wore a Yankees cap to an Indians home playoff game.
Skip,
are you kidding me?
Just because you're from a state, that doesn't mean you got to represent that state with all the. I ain't got no Braves gear. I ain't got no Hawks gear, no Falcons gear. Yeah. They were sorry when I was growing up, so I had to go out and find me a team that was winning something.
Well, I'm surprised that by the end of the game, he wasn't tweeting about the Ravens.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure
Ravens.
I'm sure he like L.
Way to go.
That might be his new Madden team. He might replace Kyler. He might be the Cardinals with the Ravens.
Go. Yeah.
I mean, LeBron can't help himself. He doesn't want to cheer for the Cowboys right now. I'm sorry, Skip, but that's not very fun this season. That is it for Undisputed. Good stuff today, guys. What a game to respond to. We're back tomorrow, same time. Have a good one.